Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week, Alpha 3.5 gets ever closer to live release, plus we hear about the future plans for Arccorp. So before we begin, I would just like to thank Matt Stubbs and City028 for becoming my latest patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support my channel even further, guys, follow the link to my Patreon page in the description. So before we begin, a quick heads up on the 3.5 status. It's still in open PTU. The current build is 3.5.0U, which is now focused on testing general gameplay and AI pilot behavior. Still no sign of a live release, as they are very much focused now on getting the bugs fixed, and we're pretty much getting a new patch every day or every other day, so the team are clearly working around the clock to get this build ready for live. Whether we get it next week, it is unknown, but fingers crossed we don't wait too long. So on this week's Reverse the Verse, it was with the environmental art team talking about what they did for Alpha 3.5. Now the first question was, Arccorp is described to have oceans, which obviously make it plausible for weather effects like rain. Will we see these oceans at all? And they say the main focus for 3.5 was to create a full planet of buildings first. Later down the line, they will do some research and development for some oceans and other areas. It's still early days, so there'll be more to come. What can we expect to find exploring Arccorp? Will there be things like abandoned cities or monolithic structures, or even derelict ships? Now, they say that there's not likely to be abandoned cities, but there might be abandoned buildings and shipwrecks. They're all possible, maybe creating something which the mission team could use for interesting locations to explore, and I think that would be amazing. Will we see underground areas of Arccorp? Now, they're planning for potential mission locations, so maybe exploring one of the trenches of Arccorp or seeing something like that down the line. There's no reason why not, and it would be really cool to see like the deep slums, sort of ground level of Arccorp, a bit like the old game Project Eden, if anyone remembers that. Next question is, what are the plans for additional materials or colours or textures for Arccorp's buildings? And they say yes, definitely they are working on things for a later patch release. More colours, more building types, maybe mega structures. They've got circular shapes and tile variations, making areas of the planet look completely different. Someone asked about Arccorp's atmosphere. Will there be any greenery? Which obviously makes sense to say there's oxygen. And they say yes, they've got some ideas and concepts for greener areas. Maybe things like rooftop gardens and penthouses. They want us to be able to land on as many buildings that are available, but they don't always want these buildings to just be landing pads. Maybe there could be a garden, or maybe a pool, or a penthouse as mentioned. So we will likely see these rooftops being swapped out because they'll be modular. It does make sense to have some huge, maybe atmospheric processes. We will likely see something like that later down the line. Also, same with parks and other visually interesting areas that will just fit within the realism of creating an atmosphere. But again, it's always the future planning for the locations, and things will be added later down the line. Someone asked, why did Arccorp change from the CitizenCon demo to what we have now? And a lot of it was an artistic decision to change the buildings and create a little more realism to some of the new buildings. Performance was also a factor, but also the demo had the sun set in a position that was static. It wasn't moving, so they wanted to make sure that everywhere looked good at all times of day as well. Someone mentioned that Arccorp's moons are looking incredible, even better than Crusaders' moons. Will we see updates to the older moons? And they say they're always testing new tech and trying to improve things as they go. So they will likely go back and improve all the previous moons as well. They did mention a while ago about applying the new tech that they'd learnt from Arccorp and applying that now to Hurston. So yeah, as time goes on, they're always improving things. Are there plans for changing the rock distribution on planetary bodies? Because when you're driving around on a planet, you're spending most time avoiding rocks rather than enjoying the view. And they said again, as the tech gets better in terms of distribution, we will get things that look visually better, but also more fun for players too, so they will probably address it when they do that. Are there plans to create Arccorp's maybe biome diversity, so different areas looking completely different? And they say currently they have an industrial area and a populated area. As they develop more and more, they will add new and interesting biomes. They started with the version 1 of Arccorp, and they're looking into many unique structures, but also they want to create reasons to fly to these locations too. So yeah, as always, it seems to always come back to this. It is version 1, things are going to change. Someone asked if they've learned any lessons from Lorville to help create Arccorp, and one of the biggest lessons they said was they wanted to create a bigger visual read from a further distance, so as people approach, they know where to go. The spaceport does look completely different, and you can see it, so that was one of the lessons. Are there plans for larger social buildings to take advantage of the city view, maybe areas for players to get together? Now, they said that they've got this interesting circular building. The landing pads are not going to be on the top because it's not that high. They're going to be on the side. It's not tall, it's sort of spread out, and you can see it from space. He did think when he was designing it, it could be maybe a stadium or a concert hall, or maybe a centre of commerce, like a shopping centre. As they say, they always want to give the live designers more tools for making interesting missions, so different building types. It sounds like it could be a really cool marketplace on a really large scale where people can go and meet up and hang out, but it also could be a way of bringing back the circular visuals of Arccorp, so it'll be interesting to see when that comes in. But that was hoping to be in for 3.5, but it got pushed, so we may see it in a later patch. It might just be a 3.6, 3.7. Someone asked if they would allow players who bought a building on Arccorp to change the exterior visuals of it, maybe even add a hologram for org buildings. And they say they really like this idea. It's sort of similar to changing the interior of your hub and having it persist. There's no reason why they couldn't do an org-owned building and have maybe persistent items placed outside. They want hubs and locations like that to be customizable and for players to make it their own. So they think it's a great idea, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do. Second to last question, were space stations above Hurston or Arccorp, will we ever see these? And they are working on this right now. There's definitely going to be a variation of different stations, but they really want to get things like dry docks around planets so that ships like the Hull series can unload there. And they will do this for every major landing location. There'll be cargo stations in orbit to drop off the large cargo deliveries so that ships of big sizes don't have to struggle with atmosphere, and also ships like the Hull can't land, so they need to dock. Final question, will we get panoramic elevators around Arccorp? Now they say this is a really good idea and they do want to look into exterior elevators on buildings, but also they're really focused on getting windows into hubs and so you can incorporate the view. They're pushing this for Horizon. They did want to get it into Arccorp, but they couldn't, so we will see that later down the line, and that's very exciting. Anyway, that was Reverse the Verse, guys. Some really cool stuff coming to Arccorp and other planets as well later down the line, so it'll be interesting to see how it develops. Also this week, there was a new portfolio post highlighting CAS Aerospace. Details for Gamescom is now on the website, letting you know where all the bar citizens will be located. And finally, March's monthly report is available to show us all that CIG has been working on during the month of March. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.